do you think about succession planning in Zerodha?
So my kids are going to take over.
And once the stroke happened, for a month I was at home, and I was thinking continuously, do I get back to work or not?
Zerodha or any other broker has massive number of dependencies on many market infrastructure institutions over very flaky old infrastructure.
I think the market regulator has done an excellent job, never gotten a breathing space in the last 5 years or so.
Let's talk about the F&O sort of issue that SEBI has raised.
The thing that I hate in that circular is the lot sizes going up.
Do you have views on the recent budget?
Culture should be discovered and not enforced. I don't know if the stock market today is as cyclical to the economy as it once was.
So 14 years back, we had 1 crore investors in the market. Today, there are 10 crore. A lot of traditional wealth is really in gold and real estate.
I think it's our responsibility to spread awareness and educate.
How much education do you need really to manage your own money?
How much driving skill do you need to navigate through the city?
We got Karthik carbon dated recently.
If Zerodha hadn't happened, what would you be doing?
I would love to be Kailash's psychologist.
When will you IPO?
We would want to list Zerodha.
Hello everyone. Zerodha turns 14 this month, and like last year, we have decided to host an AMA, which is Ask Me Anything. Thank you so much for all your questions. We will take as many as we can. For those of you who don't know the difference between Nithin and Nikhil, he's on my right, he's on my left, and we'll put their names up just for your reference. And we have Dr. Kailash, who I'm sure in the development community everyone knows. Welcome. We have Venu, our COO, who makes the place run. And apparently he's very media shy, so we'll ask him a couple of questions. And we have Karthik, who last year said he was media shy, but this year, with Varsity going everywhere, I'm sure everyone in the country knows him anyway. And I'm Hansi. In case you're wondering, I am a failed entrepreneur, wannabe comedian, and I host the Rain Matter podcast, so I was just kind of hanging around, so they've called me in. Anyway, so last year we did a great you did a very good job of hosting it yourself. And we did a lot of intro in terms of how you guys all met. But just in case people don't watch last year's AMA, we want a very short intro from everyone. We'll get to you last. Maybe we'll start with you, Nikhil.
We met.
Sorry?
We were at a conference and Nithin was on the other side of the room. I walked up to him and said hi, and we met like that.
Right. Okay. And what did he say? Or what did you say to him?
I said, you look like you have good genes. You must have good-looking parents. And he said, he acknowledged it.
Right. Okay.
You said you were trying to be a comedian.
I'm a wannabe comedian. If somebody had a good...
Tell us a joke.
It's already
I
derailed.
said wannabe. I'm a failed one. I want to do more physical comedy, like a Lucille Ball, like make faces and all. So, yeah, not happening. I got pulled into finance. So, but let's talk about you. I noticed you deflected very, very smartly. But when you go around the world, and I believe you've been traveling around the world quite a bit, how do you introduce yourself, especially to someone who doesn't know who Zerodha is?
I am Nikhil. I think whenever you introduce someone, it should not be about the work that you have done, but who you are as a person. And I try to stick to that.
Does that work? I mean, if you go to a business conference...
See, a business meeting will have context, but if I were to meet somebody on the road or casually, I'm more interested in who they are as a person and where they come from versus what they do or which company that they're associated to.
True. But for someone, like I said, people who get confused between you and Nithin all the time,
like that.
How do you explain your role at Zerodha?
At the very beginning of Zerodha, I was involved full-time there. I think in the last 4 or 5 years, I look at investing at Zerodha, the treasury operations and things like taxation and stuff like that. But in terms of the business largely, in the last 4 years, I've not been so involved. So I think for everything Zerodha, the right person to address the question to is Nithin and these guys. I've been trying to build new things in this time, new things around private equity, things around media in a small way. Of late, my current obsession in the last 1 year has been to find something in energy transition to build. So my travel in the recent past have been to find that opportunity in energy transition because I'm bullish on that sector for the next decade.
Okay. We will definitely talk more about that. Kailash, how do you introduce yourself to your parents' friends who don't know what development is?
I rarely talk about work. So when I go back home in my family circles or family social circles, I don't think people even know what I do.
So say if some auntie comes to you and says, Kailash, what do you do, beta? What do you
I just say in very vague and simple terms, technology stuff and financial technology stuff. And if they really want to know more, I'd ask them, have you heard of stock markets? And then, a small little explainer there. That's about it. And I have very few such interactions.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Venu, in the last year's AMA, you were talking about starting work at a chartered accounting firm.
I was pursuing my chartered accountancy, but for some reason I did not complete it. And then I joined HP to meet my future wife. I worked there for about 6 months, after which I started working with Nithin.
And how do you explain what you do at Zerodha?
More often than not, when I attend family functions, it's more about people coming up to me and asking me, do you know me, versus them asking who I am. But if I were to introduce, I say most people already know because the organization is so famous. So they know that I've played a key role in the organization, the fact that I've been here from the beginning. So it's mostly operations and process that I take care of.
Okay, great. And Karthik, how do you explain Varsity, especially from your, I think you did what, engineering?
Yeah.
Why are you not asking him the same question you asked us?
Same thing.
How would he
What do you-
introduce himself? Not Varsity.
But that's, well, he gets to know as Mr. Varsity, I would have thought.
He does so many things outside of Varsity.
Like
Okay.
bodybuilding. Does all of that.
Okay, this was meant to be the business end, so we were discussing Zerodha. We'll discuss all of that. We'll all,
Bodybuilding.
yeah. We shall definitely talk about that.
So, what's the question? How do I introduce myself?
How do you introduce yourself in terms of what you do at Zerodha?
I take care of the education initiative, develop Varsity, build Varsity. And
How do you explain Varsity to someone?
Varsity is Zerodha's flagship education initiative, and I play a role at in developing that. So that's about it.
But why does Zerodha do education?
Why does Zerodha do education? Interesting.
Are you in the education business?
I mean, to develop financial literacy in the country, I think still a large part of the country is not financially literate, and we being Zerodha playing such a key role in finance, I think it's our responsibility to spread awareness and educate people. So that's the only reason.
It is a philosophy, right? Because not every broker does the same thing. So the fact that Zerodha has chosen to do it and you're leading it, it says something about the company. So turning to you, Nithin, hopefully everyone knows what a CEO does,
Right.
which is basically the buck stops with you. But before we get into the business end, the first question that I'm sure everybody must be wondering, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. For everyone who doesn't know, I mean, I had a stroke back in January this year. 7 months, and I'm slowly getting better. Everything else is kind of normal, but with my speech, etc., I'm a little more conscious. Yeah, so that's about it.
People have been speculating that, I mean, all these conspiracy theories about it must be the COVID jab, whatever.
Right.
Did the doctors finally tell you what it was?
No, it was not the COVID jab for sure, because if the jab has to do something, it has to do when the jab was taken 2 years, 3 years back. It was no sleep for a few weeks. My dad had passed away in December. We'd gone to do the last rites, so there was some dehydration also. So the 3 or 4 things together, And it was just like an accident, you know, it could have happened to anybody.
I noticed you share that pretty widely. Why do you share it?
I mean, firstly, it was because I had to say no to the meetings, right? As in, it was getting beyond the point where I couldn't keep giving excuse to why not. And two is, I know it's generally our the whole thing around transparency. It's just telling everybody that yeah, I mean, it's happened.
Okay. And you're 100% fine back at the office?
I'm back at the office for the last 3-4 months, but I'm not 100% fine. You know, so.
Okay. Do you still go to the gym?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's commitment. Okay, so let's discuss business. Before we discuss Zerodha, let's sort of set the scene a little bit. Nithin, you've been pessimistic about the economy, actually about the markets, but maybe give us a sense of what indicators, economic indicators, do you track generally, and for Zerodha specifically?
See, for essentially economic indicators tracked more by him than by me, but we are tracking generally in terms of participation in the markets, in terms of where the Nifty is going. Yeah, these are essentially the two things that we are tracking very closely.
Nikhil, let's talk business. Apparently, you track the market more. Give us a sense of, firstly, where is the Indian economy at? What sort of indicators do you track generally? And then specifically, what do you track for Zerodha?
I don't know if the stock market today is as cyclical to the economy as it once was. You could have a bad economy and a great market. Market moves are more a factor of supply and demand of money. Right now, there appears to be ample supply of money, so markets are going up. So even for Zerodha as a business, I don't know if economic indicators define how well a stockbroker will do. I would suggest, I would probably think that market prices and where the index is at makes more of a difference.
Of course. And there are markets like China where they don't track so closely, but in India, it has tracked. But generally, I mean, as a concerned citizen, do you sort of think about or track how...
Not as a concerned citizen, as an investor, I track.
Okay. But I mean, both of you have said generally about you want more people investing in India, right? So that's what you're saying, only as an investor you track. But things like, I don't know, I mean, do you track unemployment? Do you track inflation? Do you track education, health? I mean, how are we doing in any of those?
Inflation, yes. Unemployment, yes. PMI data, how well is manufacturing is doing in the country? How much electricity is being consumed? What are the prices of commodities? These things act as a testament almost to how well the economy is doing, better than simplified numbers like GDP. Yes, we do track them. In terms of how I think the economy is doing broadly, in an otherwise bleak world, India seems to be that one sanguine spot that people who are pessimistic about their own economies internationally are looking to India and thinking here is this one exception which is growing and doing well, good demographics and all of that. So I would say we're lucky in a way in India to be in the right place at the right time. Our lifespans have coincided with a very large bull market, which seems to be continuing. Outside of that, do I agree with the valuations of today? Maybe not. I think multiples at which the index is trading at today is more expensive than any time in our past. And that is something one should bear in mind before they invest. For savings in India to go into financial markets, according to me, is very important. And any regulation that kind of gets in the way of that is probably not conducive to the long-term India story. Every developed economy has a big stock market, which is inherently a place to raise capital for companies. if people, firstly, just to set context, very few people in India have access to financial markets, right? I would say 3%, whatever, 2%. If the money that they are allocating to financial markets today, for some untoward reason, were to go to gold or real estate or asset classes that don't really aid this journey of entrepreneurship, I think would be a bad thing for India. We need to encourage and incentivize more people to enter the stock market and not put their savings in bank accounts as fixed deposit or gold or real estate. So a lot of the narrative that one gets to see on TV today, I take issue with, because I don't think it's necessarily right for the banking ecosystem to say that we have less money coming into the savings account because of the capital market, when people who are investing in the capital market are earning a higher rate of return and they're doing well for it. So we need to all get together and encourage more people to invest in India, and not take the narrative that the incumbent, some facets of the market have taken in the recent past.
Do you have views on the recent budget in terms of fiscal policy?
Yeah, I have views I will tell you, and I have views I won't tell you. But
Okay, tell us the ones that you are happy to share, and we'll see what we can do with the rest.
yeah, I feel like the one connection youth in India today has, one thing that connects them to the country on the whole, is financial markets. At least speaking for urban youth, I would not like to use the word affluent, but I would say urban middle class youth even. Everybody is intrigued, investing for the first time, entering the financial markets, and there is a deep connection of the youth with the financial markets. The one thing young people do not like is living in a nanny state, where somebody external is going to come by one day and tell them what they can do, what they can't do, what is good for them or what is bad for them. And I think that approval or disapproval in the psyche of the youth is evident to see. And any kind of regulation that makes it feel to the young people that somebody else is determining what they should do or should not do with their time and resources is not conducive for the overall market.
Okay, given that you mentioned capital markets, how do you compare? Let's first discuss the state of infrastructure of the capital markets. 14 years ago when Zerodha started and today, what have we improved and what can still be done?
I think Nithin can take that question.
Yeah, I mean, 14 years back, we had 1 crore investors in the market. Today, there are 10 crore. So the markets have grown 10-folds. Opening an account used to be a cumbersome process, a 40-page document. Today, it's all online, and within minutes, you can open an account.
We have Twitter today.
Yeah, we have Twitter today. Twitter is just is full of negative stuff. Okay, that apart.
I think the whole regulatory landscape has changed. I think investing today in the markets is a lot more safer than it was back in the day. I think the market regulator has done an excellent job of ring fencing.
Why do you say that? What was not there 14
You
years
just
ago?
look at the number of regulations that have come about in the last 5 years. It's been really tough on brokers. We've never gotten a breathing space in the last 5 years or so. Right from how you could pledge securities for margin. Earlier, securities would move to a broker's account. Today, they no longer do that. The securities continue to remain in the investor's account. They'll be unmarked to the broker. They've also ring-fenced client funds. So today there are regulations around holding back client funds in your account. So there's a rule which requires you to pay out investors once in 30 days if they have not traded, and once mandatorily every quarter. So I think overall, if you look at the security of the market, I think that has been tightened, and that sort of increases confidence to the end investor.
Some of these were as a result of some mishaps.
Yes.
to what extent do you compare the Indian sort of capital market structure to overseas and say, okay, we are at the forefront or we have still some work to do?
I think we're leading today in terms of regulations, and I think the West is following. Very recently, we transitioned from a T+2 settlement to a T+1 settlement, and the world is following suit. So earlier, when you buy securities on day one, you would get them to your demat account 2 days later. And we transitioned into a one-day settlement. It was a smoothest transition ever. So none of us felt the burden of this transition process. And I think recently the US is transitioning into T+1 settlement. So I think in terms of regulations, I think we're leading the way today, and we're showing, we're paving way, and we're showing the direction to the international markets.
The one thing that people ask about is sort of more domestic investor participation. You've been sort of quoted as saying that there's only an upper limit to how many investors can enter in terms of retail. Right. Do you want to talk about, like, compared to, again, 14 years ago to today, what is the growth of investors we've had? Could we do better?
I mean, in terms of the market size, you have to assume that only people who earn some money are the ones who can invest in the markets. So the total market size is not more than 15 to 20 crores, as in people who earn, white money and use the savings to invest in the markets. So we have kind of gotten to 50% penetration. If 10 crore Indians have an account today, which is not bad, considering 20 crore as a total addressable market. As in, of course, if you think of the overall market as 100 crores or 150 crores, then it'll seem a little off. Yeah, but back 2010, as in, it was abysmally low. So it was, and I think the reason for the growth has also been the underlying bull market, right? As in, greed is really the enabler for people to invest in the markets, and especially, I mean, we've all been lucky that we are building business in a bull market, right? As in, from the time we started the business, 2010 onwards, 2010 really was perfect timing for us because we missed 2008, importantly, and 2010 onwards, it's been a continuous bull market of sorts. I don't really have a problem with the markets. I think we have, if anything, we have grown too quickly than to say otherwise.
But in terms of the domestic participation, there's retail, there's HNI segment, and then there's institutions. And world over, people look at the pension fund segment as sort of driving the markets, the 401k types. Do you have any views in terms of why we don't have any more institutional money in India, or whether the HNI money could be more than what it is?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally Indians have saved, invested in gold and real estate, right? So a lot of the traditional wealth is really in gold and real estate, and the reason it's been like that is, India never really had a stock market to talk about until the 2000s.
I thought we're the oldest stock market in Asia. The BSE is the oldest stock market in Asia. Don't we have an equity culture? We've always had it, no?
No.
I grew up wanting to be a stockbroker, looking at Harshad Mehta, scams aside. So I thought we've had that culture. So what changed in, as you said?
No, it's become mainstream now. As in, investing in the markets is something. I still remember when I used to trade the markets back in the early 2000s. Actually, back in 2004-05, when I met Karthik, etc. As a trader, was people used to ask, why don't you get a real job? As in, it took a long time for people to accept that trading and investing is a thing. As in, really the mobile penetration in India which put a mobile in the hands of every Indian. That's been really the key growth driver.
On the tech front, Kailash, is there anything else that you see as being very pivotal that changed the sort of financial inclusion in India? Obviously the India stack, but is there anything else?
What Nithin just said, the explosive growth of smartphones, that has definitely been pivotal. It wasn't orchestrated, just the right place, right time in history, like many of us have already just said. And that continues today. Like what Nikhil was saying, very young people are heavily attracted to markets today. And the ease of onboarding, ease of transacting, ease of learning, be it educational content or be it trying out your first investment, it's all become extremely simple, trivial to execute. And there have been pieces, how 2G became 3G and how 3G became 4G, that played a key role. By ways of that, internet penetration has played a really big role. And fundamentally, when it comes to technology, a lot has changed in the last 10 years. Up until 2010s, that was a whole different era when it comes to software and technology in general, globally. So the number of technological breakthroughs that have happened in the last 10 years, really in the last 5 to 5+ years, in general, everywhere, has played a key role in organizations like us coming up and using technology to build and scale. These things wouldn't have been possible in 2010s because software as a realm has just changed, transitions completely. So it's all of these things put together.
Last question on the sort of a context. This got asked to me when I was bringing Mercer into India. If I wasn't Indian, would I be in India? So if you weren't Indian, would you invest in India now?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're not Indian, yeah? You imagine you're sitting, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somewhere in.
I think India is the most attractive geography in the world to invest in today. Not only are we growing faster than most other countries, the scale of the economy, the scale of the number of people, if you look at history, if history is any kind of precedent, I think when countries hit GDP per capita at about $5,000 per person, consumption really spikes. It happened in China. We're getting close to that number and it looks like we will be there soon. Once we cross that point, I think there will be so many incredible industries to build in India. We wouldn't have to depend on foreign capital even to the remote extent that we do today. If you look at the markets, maybe 5 years ago, markets went up and down depending on foreign inflows or outflows from the country. Today, the domestic investor has become so much bigger, even with that 2-3% penetration. I think that will become significantly bigger in 5-10 years from now. India is expensive today, but India is expensive for a reason today. Not just us, but people outside India see the value proposition in this and hence are coming into the country.
I could argue that there's this SIP money that's coming into the market, but there's not enough IPOs or not enough new businesses getting listed, which is why it's expensive. So the question could be asked is, why are there not enough more businesses getting listed that are of scale?
I would argue that there are many IPOs happening this year, at least compared to the near past. There are many companies that I have exposure to from a private equity standpoint, and I know multiple of them who are IPOing in the next 6 months. How many IPOs happen, in my mind, is a factor of the multiple they're able to get on the capital market. And today the multiples are really high. I know people who would have never considered going to the stock markets who are doing it today because they say, I'm a consumption company. Privately, I would get 4x, 5x revenue. On the stock market, I seem to be getting a lot more.
And then with the IPO thing, what you need to realize is India's real growth has happened only in the last 5-7 years, right? So companies are very young.
Why do you say that? What do you mean real growth?
I mean, thanks to the mobile penetration, which has kind of expanded the consumer businesses of sorts, and because they are relatively new companies, they'll come. They'll all come to the markets in the next few years. I mean, Zomato, Paytm, etc. were like thought leader, in the sense they came to the markets first. and they proved that, they can raise money.
But these are service businesses. I mean, India needs to build stuff as well, right? We do need to build right from infrastructure to I don't know, cars and houses and all kinds of things. Is enough Make in India happening?
We run an initiative called Matter, through which we invest through health and, we are not really health and climate and etc. But there are a lot of new companies and a lot of people coming back to India to start businesses, and a lot of capital kind of chasing these companies as well. But we are early in the in the race of sorts. So I think these companies will eventually come IPO at some point of time, as in over the next 5-10 years. So, I don't think any of us would have wanted to be in any other part of the world than India. So,
okay, let's switch gears. Now let's talk about Zerodha as a business. Perhaps maybe start with you. Give us an update of what Zerodha has done over the last year since we did the last AMA, and then maybe perhaps your immediate plans.
The last last 3-4 years has been quite stupid for the business. So in terms of how much we've grown and how much revenue and how much profits, etc. So we continue to do that. We've grown 40-50% on a, not 40, maybe 30-40% on a very large base. And so business has done well, but there are dark clouds around the corner.
Say that every year.
No, but this time it's
real dark clouds.
Real dark clouds. There's something that we kept. It was given that there'll be some regulatory action. A few of the revenue items can potentially drop by 40-50%.
So can you give us a breakup of what the big revenue buckets are?
Apart from brokerage, in terms of what we charge per transaction, where we earn quite a bit from derivatives, futures and options, that we are hoping. Not hoping, but most likely there'll be a 30-40% drop. Once service consultation paper that they put in will actually come into play sometime, maybe sometime later this year. There was true to label thing that that's going live from October. That'll be like a 10-15% hit on the revenue. So given all these changes, we are thinking that the brokerage that we charge we don't charge no brokerage for equity. We need to maybe start charging, and maybe if the revenue drop in terms of transactions on options trading is going to be significant, then probably that'll also have to go up. But we are not sure yet. We're right now playing by the ear of sorts. So, yeah.
So you'll make some changes on the fees that you charge customers. On the other hand, you've stopped the account opening fee. Very recent. But in terms of revenue buckets, what other sources of revenue are there on the horizon? Are you thinking of diversifying? We see the AMC, we see Matter, we see a bunch of things, but how do you think about the Zerodha group?
I was talking to Nikhil about it today. As in, Zerodha Capital is a NBFC, Zerodha AMC, Ditto, who does insurance, and there are all of these things. They're all today at a scale where they're really a rounding off number for us, in terms of profitability and etc. So, but given that they are just 1 to 3 years in the business, and given that we have, over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe potentially they can become large. Through Rainmatter, we have 140 investments. A lot of these investments, like how we thought about it is anything core to our business, we'll do it ourselves. Anything which is not core to our business is something that we would want to partner with some entrepreneur and do it, let him do it, right? So with Rainmatter, again, health, climate, and finance, fintech is what we're attempting. You know, we're trying to find entrepreneurs who think alike, and we're going after that.
So is Rainmatter basically part of the Zerodha diversification strategy?
Yeah, they're all part of Zerodha diversification strategy. But today, as in, it doesn't add up, but hopefully sometime in the future.
All right. Do you ever think about competitors in terms of, in the brokerage space, there are still people sort of entering? I guess there's many new fintech players. Do you sort of see the brokerage TAM expanding at all?
I mean, given where regulations stand today, I don't think the brokerage TAM is going to expand. And yeah, I mean, a lot of new players are coming in with the, with the hope that they can make money on futures and options. But there's no market out there.
Within Zerodha also you have Kite and you have Coin. I must say, when I was signing up many years ago, I was confused as to, I thought I signed up for Zerodha and all of a sudden they're saying go to Kite. Why so many apps? Why not just integrate them all into one super app? Kailash, you want to take that?
There are only 2 apps, and we have 2 apps because of legacy reasons. And Kite was first built in 2015, was a whole different era. First the web app and then the mobile app. And then Coin was the result of a lot of decisions that happened in and around 2016-17. Regular mutual funds versus direct mutual funds. These were extremely early days for our investment and trading platform. And when Kite first hit the markets in late 2015, it opened up a whole new paradigm for us and many of our customers. So, and the way mutual funds evolved, the way direct versus regular was happening, the way, like I said, the decisions evolved within Zerodha. There were a number of considerations that went into deciding that at that juncture, these two would be best separated. And that has aided us. That has turned out to be an excellent decision so far. Mutual funds have a very slow, passive way of investing and managing. And the whole idea of Coin was not to just have mutual funds. It was meant to be your slow wealth management sort of a platform. It's a whole different thing that so far we haven't been able to build that experience into Coin yet. It's remained just mutual funds. And Kite, on the other hand, has evolved rapidly over the last 6-7 years. So they couldn't have evolved together for historic business, risk, technical and product decisions. But the market dynamic has also changed. When in that around 2016, 17, 15, I think the average age of our customer was mid-30s, right?
Yeah.
35 to between 35 and 40. It has now dropped to, I think, mid-20s. For a lot of new brokers, I think it's sub-25. So the perception, the requirement, how people perceive smartphone apps, all of those things have changed. And the whole idea of a super app wasn't really even a thing in 2015-16. So it's largely historic reasons, but it has worked out really well. There's a massive customer base who simply prefer that slow investing experience of what Coin offers. But I think over the last few months, actually, we've been discussing this forever, but over the last few months, we've come up with concrete plans to add automated, assisted wealth management, the slow passive investing sort of a thing into Coin, and mutual funds will remain there. But if you really want to buy mutual funds on Kite, you'll be able to do that too. So Kite will remain your fast-paced platform where you can buy and sell anything, including mutual funds, but Coin will transition to what it was truly meant to be, your slow, full 360-degree view wealth management platform. And that's happening soon, sometime this year.
Interesting that you segmented it based on the type, the slowness or the fastness of the process. Any other segmentation that you think about? I mean, as you said, maybe the demographics, age. You're not targeting the very young people as well?
Not necessarily. So our product and business philosophy has always been to make universal products. Our brokerage plan is the same for everyone, irrespective of their account size or their age group. It's the same app that everybody universally uses. We have clients who are in the late 80s. We have clients who have just turned 18. They all use and appreciate the same app. So, and it's not viable to create demography-based apps because trends change. Trends change from time to time. Every 3 to 5 years, people's perceptions change. Gen Z becomes something else, and Gen Alpha comes over. They have different needs and requirements and perceptions and understanding of all of these interfaces. So our goal has always been to make universal models. The fast-paced experience versus the slow experience truly matters because we have evidence for that. If you look at Kite, every day, I think people open up the app, even people who do not actively invest in trade. Let's say we get 6 to 7 million people logging in every day, maybe 2 million trade or invest every day. But some 500 million times the holdings portfolio P&L is viewed per day over a period of 6 hours. So that's people opening, let's say Kite, looking at markets or looking at their portfolio P&L. There's no need to look at your holdings portfolio P&L every few minutes, but that's the nature of your active holdings. But if you look at coin data, you would see that people don't open coin to look at the mutual fund returns every single second because it doesn't change every single second. If you cram all of this into one app, maybe it'll work on day one, but as your services offerings expand, it'll just get complicated and it'll become a terrible experience. So you're trying to draw that fine balance between the fast-paced, it's not designed to be that way, but it's the very nature of the market. So that versus the slow-moving, slow investing experience.
Another point of difference that you see with Zerodha compared to others is the fact that you don't advertise. You don't take all these very expensive ads out. And so maybe perhaps give us a bit of background. Why did you choose to do that and where you are with that now?
When we first started in 2010, we didn't have the money to advertise. Until 2014, 15, we didn't really have the resources to kind of have advertising budget. But then we realized the advantage of not having a marketing budget, right? As in, it forces you to be more nimble and innovative and etc. And the thing about advertising is it's like being on a drug, So I'd say you get addicted to it, right? As in,
Advertising.
Yeah, as in, if you have a company who's gonna get every year, say you get 10 lakh leads through advertising, how do you stop doing that, right? As in, most people, we speak to a lot of these, startups, etc., who spend tons of money on Meta or Amazon, etc. They can't imagine a life with no advertising, right? As in, it's definitely a really big addiction, and as soon as you stop the advertising, what happens is all your top of the funnel, it reduces significantly. As a business, you don't want to take that decision. That was one reason. Second is, at least till 2016, had to sign up an account opening form and send it to us. They had to courier it to us. If he had seen an advertisement, that means that we needed him more than he needed us.
So that was the background. But so where did you get all the customers from? Did you do an analysis?
Word of mouth. Our product is incredibly good. I've got a vested interest in saying that. So,
but you also used influencers, right? They're now sort of being clamped down upon in terms of SEBI, but there were a bunch of influencers that had affiliate links, right?
That was 10%, 5-10% of the business. Last AMA, we had said that we had gone easy on. We had lost the race on videos and etc.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, like 1 year from now, when we look back at our channel,
Exactly, yeah.
it has got like, it's like the most popular channel in town.
And that's something that I don't think this year anyone would come and say a video strategy is lacking. We have multiple channels, we are supporting multiple people, so that's something that's picked up. And
So that's deliberate. That is your marketing strategy, basically supporting video content?
I mean, it's not really a marketing strategy. You can say, we are not going in with an expectation. We're not going in an expectation saying we spend 1 crore rupees and we'll get these many leads. That's typically the marketing. When someone's got a marketing strategy, he's got that. It's saying that we will support all these influencers, and wannabe influencers, and we'll put all this good content. Be it Varsity, be it 01, be it the Zerodha YouTube channel, and whatever comes out of it, it comes. So we never really set a target for anyone in the business or for anything. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's worked for us, so we continue doing that.
Just to add to that, I don't think so any of our videos we talk about any of our products or place any of our products. It's purely for meant to be educative in nature, and we don't place any. There is no marketing angle as such. So pretty evident if you watch any of your videos.
In
And
fact,
that I think has
sorry.
played out well.
But it's like brand sort of content marketing, wouldn't it?
Brand placement.
Not brand placement, but sort of brand awareness.
It is.
That's
It is.
my product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct.
And so we have, just so if someone, and there was a question, what is the content strategy? So we have the Zerodha channel, we have the Varsity channel. In the last year, we launched 01. What else?
All the Rain Matter podcasts.
What that? Then there's the
Nikhil.
WTF. Does that count as the Zerodha group of?
Yeah, it is, because he is.
You don't place Zerodha somewhere in
No,
the,
he is co-founder of Zerodha. He puts it right at the top. Everyone. The first question you asked around, saying that he's Nikhil is Nithin. I think until 3 years, until before the podcast, I would say that people would call Nithin more than Nikhil. Right? They still had a confusion that there's one founder.
Even our mother is confused. She says
That's good.
she says Nithin a lot more than she does Nikhil, but she's confused a little bit.
No, these days she says, I like the one who does the podcasts more. But sorry, speaking of that, the quality content, absolutely, the focus is on quality, everything that we do. And indirect brand association and brand awareness, that's the thing. We've realized that you can't really miss out on that. YouTube is a reality, video is a reality, people watch it, people like it. So you can't not do it. But internally, we don't have a dashboard or a system or anything where you track marketing to conversions or video to, there are no such metrics or systems. So these are happening organically, and our understanding is that if people like the quality of the videos, they'll indirectly appreciate Zerodha. So by not advertising, what that has done to us over the last decade plus, almost 14 years, is the focus for everybody inside Zerodha internally is to improve the quality of products and services. There is nowhere else to excel. There's no great marketing creative stuff to focus on. There are no marketing metrics to track. All the metrics to track is word of mouth and people coming in and the feedback that you get on product and quality. So I think it's really changed. It's imbibed in our DNA now. Like everybody in the org, these have implicitly and explicitly become the metrics to track quality of products and services.
Isn't it also true that the inherent nature of our business is such that you can't really push an ad and get someone to open an account?
There are ethical questions there for sure.
People do it. The broker does it.
No, but then the investor also has to have an inclination to invest and open the account. So I think that has to come from within the investor. So I don't think it's a push product. I don't think it's...
it shouldn't be a push product, but I don't think everybody abides by it. So just to cite a very concrete example, we don't send push notifications, and push notifications are one of those tools world over, sector after sector, where you try to use that as a tool to capture your end user's attention for those 2 seconds. And everybody gets hundreds of push notifications every day. You know that a lot of other brokers in the market, they push half a dozen notifications every day, inducing people to trade, arbitrary market metric or index-based notifications. We have a policy where we will only send max 2 notifications in a month, and that too, important product related announcements. So that is how conservative we are. So that it's a philosophical or rather ethical call. It's a part of our quality as a focused DNA. So we refuse to send push notifications, 2 max a month.
Right. Just finishing the content strategy. Have you, as a CFO, looked at all the money we've spent on content marketing? And would that be up there similar to other people's marketing budget?
I think I think the irony of this question is, I think I'm the only one who looks at the numbers.
That's why I asked you. You're the CFO.
So I think we live in a capitalistic world. When you reach JP Nagar 4th Cross, something happens. When you walk up from the first floor, you go to the ground floor, you can still see semblances of capitalism. By the time you're reaching the 3rd floor, it's some kind of socialist, idealistic world where nobody cares about profits or taxes But I think I see that both as a good thing and maybe as a bad thing from one lens, but more as a good thing for everyone here, mostly them, to be so focused on building a company without looking at profits alone, like most other companies are. Net really helps the long-term cause of growing financial markets in India, in my opinion. So it's better that it is this way. But I reserve my right to complain about them being this way.
Also, we are where we are because it has been this way. Because everybody's been able to truly focus on what they excel at.
I guess I was asking that question in terms of how do you measure whether the piece of content we've put out is effective or not? I think I remember asking you this when I started the Rain Matter podcast. I mean, at what point will you say, we're only getting X hundred views, let's drop it? Will you ever do that? Or will you say, no, it's serving a broader purpose and therefore we should continue?
No.
If the broader purpose is educating people, I think money spent on that, it's like a big well that can take as much money as you can put into it. Especially with what Karthik does, with his intent of educating masses per se, he's trying to do it in regional languages. One could argue that we spend 15 years educating a child in formal education. We don't, after that 15 years, they get a job, earn a wage, but we spend no time teaching them how to manage that money, which is probably as important as the amount of money they make. So money spent in order to educate a vast majority of our population, I think is money well spent. And from that lens, if Karthik spends twice as much money on Varsity, I don't think Zerodha, the company, would really care about how many leads are coming via that.
In fact, we've never tracked leads via Varsity as an initiative.
No, I mean, right from the day Karthik joined, when we decided to build Varsity, the thing was we didn't really have Zerodha as a banner ad or anything. So it was,
or even a sign up. It's fully open.
Yeah. So the idea was not that, as in, and we never looked at. I mean, it's all rounding error today, as in the budget, in terms of whatever you're spending on content is small rounding error of the revenue. So it doesn't really significantly add.
Hopefully not the impact.
No.
One of the comments that I saw when tech glitches happen, and I'll come to that in a second. But one of the comments that I saw was if the founders spent less time making content and more time on their tech apps. That's why I was sort of asking. I mean, they kind of assume that you, behind the scenes, you're running around, you're doing the content yourself. You have a big team, right?
Yeah, I'm happy they're saying content now. Before it used to be other things.
Right. Okay. One advantage, one upside.
Can I? I think that line of argumentation is illogical, and you see it everywhere, not just with Zerodha, but absolutely everywhere. So somebody says, oh, I was listening to music yesterday, and a bunch of people will go say, oh, that's why the bad thing happened. You're listening to music, you should be doing that. That's a completely irrational, illogical argument. Just because somebody listens to music or watches a movie doesn't mean that they are required to do something else 24/7, right? And if you trust an organization to deliver products and services, that trust implicitly factors in the fact that the people who run the org are also human beings, and they'll do whatever. But unless there is evidence that certain actions by certain people in a certain org directly is impacting or creating a non-desirable outcome, then these arguments are absolutely baseless. This is one of the reasons why I've never been on social media. Every time somebody shares a Twitter link, and it could be about anything, absolutely anything, be it political, be it whatever, the kind of brain-dead comments, the brain-dead level of, the brain-dead arguments that you see, it's just apparent.
Let's talk about specific departments. Maybe it's a function of the biggest is the one that gets called out the most. So things that come out in the press about Zerodha having glitches, technical glitches. Kailash, do you want to sort of address that in terms of how many there were, set the record straight, and what you're doing about them?
So we have a section on our website we've called it disclosures, where every report, glitch or issue report or audit report that we are required to send to SEBI and the exchanges, and everything is heavily audited. And every time there's a glitch, there's an entire framework, technical issue, there's an entire framework that you have to abide by. So we publish those reports. I think we're the only broker who publishes the copies of those reports that we file with the regulators as is on the website. I think this year, in our 8th month, we've had to file 2 issues. Is that right, Venu? 2 issues, right? 2. But that's not to say that there haven't been 2 issues. I'd like to take a nuanced view here. When a product or technology service has an issue, especially if it's a financial one, it's grave and it's extremely annoying. But issues can happen due to many reasons. And if issues in a tech company happen because of incompetence or the lack of resources or the lack of capacity, lack of understanding of technology, lack of R&D, that's a grave systemic risk. And at Zerodha, if we were facing technical issues because of the lack of skill or capacity, that would be grave. That would be extremely disturbing to all of us, especially me. But the issues that we have faced, Zerodha, as we've grown, as we've expanded our infrastructure, these are a different kinds of issues, largely due to legacy. Last year, we had 3 very unfortunate incidents in which a single-digit % of clients were affected. One of the things we've done over the last 4 years, ever since markets exploded, is that we've come up with an architecture where behind one Zerodha, there are now small mini 8 Zerodhas running, fully independent. So clients are all distributed into these mini Zerodhas. We call them silos. So typically when issues happen, they are isolated to a silo. So it's just standard, clever way of architecting to reduce the risk. So generally when any of these issues happen, they're limited to a small section of clients. And yes, it's bad for those clients depending on the nature of the issue. So last year we had multiple issues unfortunately due to things that were completely outside of our control. Very old legacy dependencies that we've been trying to get rid of for the longest time, like an exchange line over which we have zero control, going down inexplicably twice in a row. But at the end of the day, what our end users see are issues with Zerodha. But Zerodha or any other broker has massive number of dependencies on many market infrastructure institutions over very flaky old infrastructure, and real-time infrastructure. And the thing is, markets before 2020 and markets after post-COVID 2020 are two different beasts. So even the underlying infrastructure, everything has been scaled, not really slowly and cautiously in the markets I'm saying, but abruptly overnight. So there's no precedent for handling such load, such volumes anywhere. And yet at Zerodha, thanks to everything we've built over the last decade plus, we've managed to scale well with lean, efficient infrastructure and whatnot. So these things that are completely outside your control, when they go wrong, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And generally, I'd say that 80% of the issues we've faced are of that particular nature. And that is extremely saddening and frustrating because you bear the brunt, your clients bear the brunt, you face the anger and ire, and rightly so. And yet you have these legacy dependencies out there over which you have zero control. So we, over the last many years, have had long-standing R&D projects where every single external dependency that we have that we can't control, we've gotten rid of them. Today, there's one critical dependency that remains, which is the OMS, RMS itself, Order Management and Risk Management System. For that, we've been running this R&D project, which is now finally at the exchange approval stage. So we've gone to that extent of building an OMS, RMS from scratch over 5 years, just to get rid of that last bit of dependency. And I can cite another example of two issues that happened in the recent times. One was, so we've been, speaking of legacy, there are pre-2020, post-2020, entirely different technology stacks, market behavior, dynamics, etc., etc. So we've rewritten and replaced a component from 2018-19, and we tested it over 6 months, bit by bit, cautiously, week after week, to build confidence. These are extremely critical systems. You can't just replace them. So we did a phased rollout, as it's called, take it live in 10% of the infra and 20% and 30, 40. So this was a go live that happened over 6 months, and we got to 95% and it was all successful. So we turned the switch on for the last 5% and something there went wrong. The issue lasted 20 minutes. We were able to revert. And one could argue that 20 minutes is a very long time in markets, and it all depends on volatility and whatnot. So those 20 minutes would have been extremely painful for the small segment of users in that particular silo, as I explained earlier. So that happened. Some of these things, the changes, the risks that we take to move away from legacy technology and infrastructure, they have to be done. There is no other way. And these are extremely unfortunate gaps, these tiny little things that slip through that manifest as a glitch. That particular incident lasted 20 minutes for a single-digit % of clients. I think maybe less than 1% or 1 to 2% of clients for that particular window on a particular thing. It wasn't that the platform was down. And the other thing about perception is these are all isolated glitches. But when the news or when information about these technical issues manifest, it looks like the entire platform is down. That is never the case. The architecture of the systems are such that the entire thing, the system going down, it doesn't work that way. It's a distributed, independent system. So what really goes wrong, and things extremely unfortunately, sometimes they do go wrong, and what they're perceived as are very different things, especially social media. And we had I'd like to cite one more issue. We had another issue where one of the exchanges, stock exchanges, had a 30-minute issue where orders were frozen in a certain segment. It affected pretty much all brokers and completely outside of brokers' control. But I think that issue was incorrectly attributed to us and other brokers also on social media, in news reports, etc. So even the way glitches are understood, I think generally the perception, it's not really well defined. Nobody even knows how to define a technical glitch. And these are really large, complex systems, and software, internet technologies, scaling, it's a very recent phenomenon. I'd say 10 years, or if you stretch it, 20 years. So what exactly is a glitch or a small glitch isolated to a part of a system versus the entire application going down? These are all different things. but there's no nuance in understanding. So what we've been doing at Zerodha forever is to put all our energy and effort practically on a 24/7 basis on improving the systems, getting rid of legacy. And this transition that I was talking about, it's a part of our next decade plan, where we want to make sure that our infrastructure and technology is as automated as possible and as future ready as possible for the next decade. But that involves risk, and risk sometimes manifests as these unfortunate incidents. So, sorry, that's a bit of a long explanation, but I wanted to cover that nuance.
So as a non sort of nerdy trader, what I heard was 80% were sort of system-wide, 20% were yours. So the 80% affected all the brokers?
No, it's not like that. This one particular exchange, whenever there's an issue with an exchange, all brokers are affected. We're saying the glitches that users face on Zerodha's platform, 80% of them historically over the last many years, let's say 4 or 5 years, have stemmed from legacy dependencies that are completely outside of our control.
But isn't that your problem? I mean, why do you have legacy systems? I mean,
no, that's the very nature of the market itself.
But do other brokers have similar legacy systems?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a common.
So some brokers have n number of dependencies. We have very few because consciously we've worked on reducing dependencies, taking technology in our control. So our tech stack, it's cutting edge. I don't like using that word. It's used everywhere, but it is truly cutting edge. These are distributed systems that scale on their own, need very, very little human intervention. So when I say legacy dependencies, when you as a trader, you punch an order on our platform or any other platform, they have to reach the exchange. So a broker pulls a lease line from the exchange through which the orders are transmitted. When you apply for a lease line, it takes 3 to 4 months to commission. Now imagine you have to scale up rapidly because your consumer demand is increasing. The fact that it takes months to lay a lease line shows you how legacy the entire system is. The telco, the exchange, all the institutions, approvals, everything. And these lines the lines can go sour. So there are backups, but those backups can also go wrong. And these are all dependencies, hard legacy dependencies that you can't get rid of. Today, I think we have 40, 50 lease lines that we have pulled.
So you are leasing them from the stock exchange.
You have
Therefore,
to.
technically, it's a stock exchange's problem that happens.
Yeah. I mean, it is. So the lease line, if it goes down, it switches to the backup. But the issue is in the lease line, there's a term called flaps, which means it's not gone down completely, but it's gone down, right? And when the lease line and the lease line flaps is when we have issues. As in this dependency, there's no way to get around it. You have to be on a lease line,
But do you have to be on? Sorry, the point I was trying to make was that you have to be on a lease line, but do you have to get 44 lease lines to connect? That is not modern. That is the legacy issue. If you had, let's say, 2 or 3 or 5 really big lease lines and they were efficient in the manner that they worked, we wouldn't have many of these issues. So this is just one aspect. But the fact that a broker has to pull 40 to 50 lease lines, each of which take 3-4 months, in itself is a symptom of these legacies. That's what I'm referring to.
This is what I was asking earlier about comparing our Indian infrastructure to maybe other markets. How does this compare with, I don't know, New York?
In India, every single order punched on any broker's platform has to go to the exchange. The settlement happens at the exchange. This has pros and this has cons. Technically, the cons is that it's a massively centralized system. But that's a technical con. But it's a trade-off. The fact that heavily regulated exchanges settle your trades, like Venu was saying, that ensures security and transparency. In the US, orders can be settled in many ways. The broker themselves can settle and match orders. There are things called dark pools where orders settle. So you can't even know where your order is going. So it's very decentralized. But the big downside is that it's very problematic for the end user to truly understand where their order is going. In India, it's guaranteed that if a user places an order, it hits the exchange and it's filled in a transparent manner, that no man in the middle can interfere with the order. So there may be technical architectural cons, but there are bigger pros here. So it's not a fair comparison.
To the extent the glitches were because of Zerodha's issues, how transparent are you in terms of putting it up and saying this was our fault? And I'm just curious now, what risks does it open up for Zerodha as a business to say, okay, somebody lost money because of that, and therefore when they ask for, will you make good the money, is that a liability that maybe could affect the business sort of? So maybe answer the technical question and then with the risk question.
So the full RCA or root cause analysis, the entire audit report, whatever we are supposed to share with the exchanges with exact timestamps, exact technical reasons, the exact same thing that we share with the regulators, which they then audit, is what we publish on our website as is. So we are 100% transparent, and whatever we tell the regulators, whatever we send to the regulators is what we publish on our website for our users.
So the problem with compensating losses when there are downtimes is you can't ask the client to give you profits if he's made profits during that time, right? So imagine a time when there is a glitch and you intended to sell and you weren't able to sell for whatever reason, and then once the systems were back up, the price that you could sell was considerably higher and you executed the transaction at a higher price, which meant that you made a higher profit. So in such cases, I can't really go to the customer and say, give me back the profits that you've made. So that's the downside to it. But if the issue has originated because of a problem at our end, we go great lengths to address the customer's complaint, because today the regulator has also ensured that there is a very fair and transparent way where investors can seek resolution. They've recently initiated this whole infrastructure of ODRs, which is online dispute resolution. So I think SEBI, I think it is listed out in SEBI's preamble that they have to look out for investor interest. And as I said, if there is an issue that has happened because of us, we do make good the losses. But again, there are times when customers are unreasonable. They would have never placed the trade and the loss in question is notional or would have never happened. So in such cases, we have no other choice but to let a third party like this ODR institution handle this grievance and pass a resolution. As I said, it is not in our interest to let a lot of complaints get escalated to the regulator, because then you land into other sorts of problems, right? The regulator wants to know why are there so many problems. So as I said, if there are genuine losses an investor has suffered, although within the framework of rules and regulations, I can quote IBT regulations which say I'm not required to have 100% uptime. We do compensate any liability that happens.
Just to conclude this, I think if you look at the actual evidence and data, for instance, the data that exchanges publish, the number of complaints received against a broker is published by the exchanges. If you look at technical metrics that are tracked, we, Zerodha and our systems have the least number of issues. But as I said, when something happens, because of the sheer size of our active client base, it's huge. The news is huge, even if it's a small percent of the clients who are affected. So that is something that we can confidently prove with evidence that our systems are robust and stable, and these incidents that seem frequent because of perception aren't truly frequent. Just to throw some technical metrics out there, we monitor, I think, tens of thousands of real-time metrics of every aspect of the system. We have a monitoring database where we have, I think, more than 1 trillion real-time metrics that are stored for the last several hours. So every nook and corner of our infrastructure and system is monitored in real time. We care about latency. Latency is the time to execute, let's say, an action. We focus on latency so much that a lot of R&D is to reduce, let's say, 20 millisecond latency to 10 milliseconds. So what I can say as an engineer, as a software developer, is that the amount of time and effort that we put in, the amount of focus that we have put in into getting rid of legacy, into building robust systems with our 10-decade-long roadmap, that is paramount at Zerodha. I mean, absolutely no compromise there, absolutely no, like Nikhil was saying, don't really care about profits or taxes or all the other financial aspects, but we care heavily about engineering the quality, the systems, and robustness. So it's that transition, and hopefully over the next many years, the underlying infrastructure generally will improve, contributing to the robustness of brokers themselves. But beyond that, we are doing everything that we can, as we always have, to make sure that these 2 incidents per year become zero.
And this perception problem is mostly because of Twitter, right? As in, it's annoying as hell,
So
because
how do you handle that? Do you just not read the comments?
I mean, I tried not to read it, but it's hard not to read it. As in, it's really people pile on, as in, and then media houses pick on what's piled on, and
there's that Hindi Amitabh song, no? Jo hai naam wala wahi to badnaam hai. So you have no choice, okay? If you're the biggest, the best. I think I remember, I think it was one film star interview. I think Shah Rukh Khan was saying that Amitabh was telling him that doesn't matter when somebody says you've done wrong, just say, I've done wrong, sorry, we'll do better next time.
But you know what helps us deal with these situations, deal with the backlash when an unfortunate incident happens? We know for a fact with objective data and evidence that the issues are those ones that couldn't have been prevented, and that's not because of incompetence of the lack of technology or engineering. So we are extremely confident in our ability and in our systems, and we know for a fact that these issues, so-called issues, will only reduce over a period of time. And that confidence is what helps everybody in the org, I think, deal with all of this.
Devil's advocate, I mean, everybody would be confident about their own product. How do you know? I mean, you
metrics.
don't get...
You have objective metrics.
But you don't get any external benchmarking done. You don't get consultants in. How would you know that your system is the best?
So in the markets, the funny thing is you don't have to get external benchmarking done. You have 10 audits that the regulator orders every year. So even for the tiniest issue, when there was no issue, but there were, let's say, news reports, we get audited. So actually, Venu, maybe we should start publishing those system audit reports also on our website. Every single aspect of our system and all top brokers, there's an army of auditors looking at it.
Right. Okay, so there are some questions from viewers that were sent in that are just on that same vein. So let's handle those. One is on, can a Wazir X kind of scenario happen with Zerodha? What are your cybersecurity measures? Either of the two?
Yeah, so the way we operate is completely different to how Wazir X operates. So we're a stockbroker, and we're decoupled in the sense the stock exchange is different and a stockbroker is different. And unlike a crypto exchange where the assets of users are held on the stock exchange itself, the architecture is completely different here. Investors open accounts in their respective names, and whenever they buy stocks for investments, the stocks are electronically transferred into their respective demat accounts. So even if tomorrow a broker were to go down, you can be safe assured that the stocks that you're holding in your account are completely safe. Also, the other difference probably is that the crypto tokens that are held on the crypto exchange is in itself an asset, right? Which is probably prone to misuse. But what is today, because there is dematerialization that has happened, essentially the stocks that you hold in your demat account are entries, right? So even if these entries are wiped away, you always have backup entries to fall back on. So I don't think there will ever arise a situation where something of Wazir X's nature can happen.
Okay, so what keeps you awake at night as the risks person?
What keeps me awake at night is my son. If he's had a cranky day, he keeps me awake at night.
Zerodha related.
But I don't know. I mean, I get disturbed when I. I mean, if you're asking it from a positive sense or negative sense, I don't know. But when there is a general perception about technical glitches, etc. So, for example, like how Kay was saying during the break, that his mom reached out. I mean, some relative of mine reached out to me and said, "Did you have these issues?" Right? So, so that sort of is disturbing, but that's only during times when there are issues. Other than that, nothing really.
It's more a perception sort of rather than actual risks.
Absolutely, because of the amount of good work that I think we're doing, this negative bias that gets created, it at sometimes becomes disturbing.
Right. Karthik, what's been happening with Varsity?
So a lot of experimentation in Varsity. So it's been, this year we complete 10 years of Varsity. So what started off as a blog-based, text-based educational initiative today has branched out into multiple different offerings, right? So we have a very vibrant YouTube channel now. We've got tons of content there, and it's an ongoing effort. Our social media handles are buzzing. We constantly put up good content there as well. Apart from these things, there is this initiative of Varsity Junior. It's basically making children aware of financial concepts. So that's a side project that's happening, and I'm personally very excited about that. I work with a bunch of extremely talented artists and creative folks there. I find myself very fortunate for that.
In last year's AMA, you said that was the first time you'd done hiring. How's that going? How many in your team now? And what do they think of you as a boss?
Yeah, so we have 4 people in the team now, but I also work very closely with the team in Noida Learn Apps. So I consider them as an extended team. So that's about 20 odd people there. So plus the Varsity Junior team. So that's another, I think, about 8 people. So these are different teams that I work with, and it's been a nice experience. I see a lot of good things coming out of
You've got a few different things happening. There's education, Varsity, the old bit, the junior bit. You've also got sort of Know Your Fund Manager, which kind of seems like it's going into fund research. You've got the Warren Buffett letters. So you've got a few different things. Is there an overall thesis that you're trying to
So the Warren Buffett series is more about analyzing all his letters from scratch, from his very first letter all the way up to 2023. The idea is to bring out the educational insights from those letters. Those letters are something that people refer to in the investment world, and it's considered a holy Bible. So nobody has put in the efforts to, put out this particular, a series where you dissect each and every letter. Right. So I think it's one of its kind. So the whole idea is to bring out the educational aspect there. So we put out 6 episodes, 4 more to go. And this will be evergreen.
And you need to talk about Varsity Live, as it.
Varsity Live, yeah. So Varsity. So Varsity Live is online learning initiative, mentor-led, experienced mentor-led. So it's where you learn by doing things. So let's say I'm talking about balance sheet. So you can literally, we can literally engage with the audience while a live session is happening. To align the balance sheet and align the cash flows and P&L statements. So it's a mentor-led live experience initiative.
So you've got a bunch of trading sort of content that you started with, and now very much investing, which is another sort of question, I guess, for you. Do you see Zerodha generally moving from a very trader-driven clientele to sort of more long-term, whether it's the mutual fund, whether it's coin, whether it's generally investing?
Yeah, I mean, for many years now, as in when we started off like a broker wanting to cater to customers who do F&O trading. I think 2015, when I launched Kai, is when we realized that we need to kind of, address a bigger audience. And right from Kite, from Coin, which we started in 2017, our attempt has been to, grow the investor audience. I mean, we don't make any money from the from the audience, but we are, I think, in terms of retail broker, we are the largest in terms of assets under management. As in, we are almost closing around 5 crores, 5 lakh crores. That is customers who have securities in our demat account. So, yeah, so we are, I mean, Varsity has just played along, but it has been like a strategy at Zerodha for sure.
The questions that have come in are also related to the Zerodha Fund House. What is your strategy there? Will it go active at some point? Do you see competition coming from BlackRock?
Like I was saying earlier, our idea with a lot of these adjacent businesses has been to let the entrepreneurs be at the head of the table. So we partner with small kids who are kind of running it for us as such. No, but there is no activity or certain plan. So the plan is only passive. At least for now, it's only passive only. And we are at 2,500 crores of AUM. 7 months. Probably 6 to 7 months, it's not bad.
You don't have a target for that either? I mean,
I don't
would it be considered a success or a failure?
No, 2,500 crores is amazing, right? As in, without any distributors, without any push, without any advertising, just people, figuring out about Coin as about Zerodha AMC as a asset and investing into it.
But did you not think about it as a sort of a potential vanguard, and therefore would you not want to grow that passive side of the business as well? In which case, do you have to make more effort to be visible?
Yeah, so visibility, we needed to have all the products. I think AMC is still short of a few funds, as in for us, a target date fund was really a way to, kind of go after every customer, and then advertise and market and things like that, because mutual fund is a thing that everyone can potentially invest into, right? And so we need to do the marketing advertisement at the mutual fund level.
Okay, so that's likely to
happen. Yeah, that's going to happen.
That's likely. How do you think about succession planning in Zerodha? I'm looking at all of you.
So my kids are going to take over. I'm grooming them.
The ones that you decided not to have. I kind of look at this and saying all of you are younger anyway, so how can people ask? But I guess from a risk point of view, it's a valid question. So how do you think about it?
I think maybe the fact that we are still rather young, except for Karthik. That is advantageous. So we are not under immense pressure to figure out a succession plan in a very short period of time. So we still have the luxury of time.
No, but you kind of assume that happens with old age. You get to go to old age. I mean, that's obviously...
So we have time to plan ahead. And this is a conversation that we have actively within all our teams. It's an open conversation. So there are many ways of doing it, but the most logical, common sense way of doing it is to institutionalize whatever that has worked for us, be it the philosophy of absolutely everything, how we do education, how we do business, how we build technology, institutionalize and automate and all the processes. So we have been actively working on that so that tomorrow, no matter who's at the helm, whatever has worked for us, the things that we've managed to create can be passed on easily and carried forward. That exercise happens actively. But when it comes to people or succession in terms of people, I don't know.
No, I didn't think about it until January this year. And once the stroke happened, for a month I was at home, and I was thinking continuously, do I get back to work or not, right? But I did. So currently I'm not thinking about succession planning. But that said, one of the things that we've all done is we have an analyst group, which is like an internal group. All the decision making, the reason for taking the decisions, etc., is communicated on the group. Even for Rain Matter, for example, we set up a group which kind of sits together and decides on an investment. I mean, it's happened very recently, but so essentially ensuring that it's not a single man's decision, but there's a process around it. Is the way we think about it. As in, I don't think individually, I mean, any of us would want to be somewhere else, but in case we want to be somewhere else, hopefully, we'll have no baggage of sorts, so we can.
But you are very different philosophically. I'm just thinking, even when you weren't in the office, say, you would do things one way, and when you came into the office, you would do things another way, perhaps. That's the impression I got. I'm just asking, to what extent is your individual personality driving it, and therefore...
I don't think I am actively involved. I might have gone to the office a bit more when he was not there.
No, so the question is that if you had to step in, wouldn't your personality be very different?
I don't think I would be the right person to step in.
No, I mean,
I know my flaws and my pluses, and I don't think this is a role that is suited to me even. But that being said, I think it is a good idea for Nithin to find who should step in and groom him and let go of a little bit of control in life, which he has a really big problem in doing. I feel at some point, I think it becomes the leader's fault if he's not able to create more leaders.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, the idea of setting up it's a group of 15 people, and Karthik and Venu is on it, and
I think but everybody else in your team is relatively young, right? I mean, I know Karthik and Venu
I mean,
are here.
we are typically the oldest of the lot, right? As in,
Don't include me.
yeah, me and Karthik are really, I mean, 44. And
We got Karthik carbon dated recently. It's fine.
So a lot of younger folks, and the thing about the younger folks is they need to be mature to kind of step into, like the shoes of leading a business and etc. So,
do you think you're falling into the trap of believing that when you yourself were very young when you started? And therefore, isn't it a matter of someone thrown into the deep end will figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, the throwing into the deep end, it's you have an option to do it, right? So I'm sure if I don't turn up tomorrow, the business will run.
One of the persistent questions that keeps coming up is, when will you IPO? And I guess it's kind of related to this, because you mentioned in the past when I've interviewed you that your business isn't diversified enough. But to what extent, when you're saying the other businesses are rounding errors, when will your business be diversified enough that you would consider listing it? And with that, don't you need to have a succession plan?
Yeah, no, I mean, IPOing, the thing is, we knew that the revenue was concentrated with futures and options, and some regulatory action is going to take place on futures and options. And you didn't want retail investors to be on the other side of the trade, as in, I mean, it would probably have been smart for us in terms of, all our own, to have listed in the last few years, so, but whenever this regulatory, action in terms of derivatives is taken, it will lead to quite a bit of losses, in terms of investor value, and we didn't want to be facing that, and like you said, all these investments plus adjacent opportunities that we're going after, today they're small, but 5 to 10 years, probably they will become large enough to kind of seem like they're meaningful. And I don't think we would want to list Zerodha as a broking entity itself, as in the holding entity, which is really the one which is owning all the pieces. is what we'd want to list, and if we ever list, and the only reason for listing also would be that it's hypocrisy if we ask everyone else to create wealth by listing on the exchanges and we don't do it ourselves. It is kind of a little bit of that. So
on one hand, you're saying that you run the risk with the F&O business changing. In fact, I want to sort of get to that. On the other hand, you're being, so you could argue that the SEBI is being a little bit of a nanny state, not nanny state, but being kind of babysitting investors about what they can and can't do. On the other hand, aren't you doing a little bit of the same by sort of assuming that because you're a specialist company, the retail investors might sort of not be able to handle it, but surely they will build a diversified portfolio at their end. That's modern portfolio theory, that individual stocks can have all the risk they want. It's the portfolios, it's the investor's job to go and build a portfolio and diversify systemic
the
risk.
thing is, the business needs to have predictability in terms of revenue before listing on the markets, is what I feel, right? And if you were to ask me today, how much will your revenue be next year, I have no answer to give you.
True, but it's a broking business. So let the investor decide. It's a broking business. Let them decide, do the forecast and decide whether they want a retail broking business or not.
Yeah, I mean,
You're being a little bit paternalistic here as well, right?
yeah. Maybe a little bit paternalistic.
I think that comparison is not fair. The state or a regulator deciding on behalf of everybody, where nobody gets a choice, is very different from a private company like us or one of the many million companies deciding to do whatever. If we've never had a pressing need, thankfully, to raise capital to expand, we're able to manage that incentive to list also doesn't exist. There can be many reasons. I've understood this also to be one reason, and the kind of decisions that we take, be it business, product or technical, the fact that we take those, like you said, unconventional decisions, one of the reasons is that we don't have to answer to external investors. So
Yeah,
there are many factors.
So just to give an example, the way we come across, it is never about revenue at Zerodha, and no revenue targets, nothing like that. As in, we can't be a listed company with no revenue targets, right? As in, I mean, people are used to businesses working a certain way once they are listed, and I mean, unfortunately, we're not that.
Let's talk about the F&O sort of issue that SEBI has raised. What are your thoughts? What do you think of whether that is fair, right?
No, I mean, I think it's kind of fair. In the shoes, if I put myself in the shoes of regulator, as in different markets around the world have something called as a product suitability framework, right? As in, not everyone can trade derivatives. I mean, today, if a customer has 1,000 rupees of interest income, he can trade derivatives. So I think the right way would have been to first address that. First have the product suitability framework saying that you need to be earning this much and income of this much, whatever, net worth of this much. And today it's possible to determine that, with the account aggregative framework, it could have, technologically it was possible to determine that. And so I would have said that should have been the first step before going down. In terms of, of all the actions which are consultation paper, the one that I think is probably right is the weekly options, as in, it didn't make sense for every day one expiry and etc., because a lot of activity was getting built just speculating for that day, right? As in, and derivatives are meant for hedging and etc., and it's not really meant for a day trading. I mean, for a single day. As in, people might say that something like the US might offer a daily trading, but US is really like a lobby of big brokers. It's US markets, as in, so I don't think a US market is the right example to see why daily trading of or 0 day expiry of options are required. And the thing that I hate in that circular is the lot sizes going up, because they're essentially making it. See, the thing is, you can do three things in the futures and option market. You can buy futures or sell futures. You can buy options or you can sell options. Now, futures and people who sell options, their margin requirements going to go up threefolds. That means you need to have 5 lakh rupees at least. I mean, according, if the circular goes live. So you essentially are pushing people away from doing that and to buy options. You're pushing them to the other side, which is, people buying options, and buying options is probably the craziest thing you could be doing, in terms of risk. So that's one thing I don't agree with the whole circular.
So the good thing about trading futures or writing options is that you have to bring in large sums of margins, right? And when your losses go to a certain level, there's a concept called mark to market. So if your losses go to a certain extent, you will have to liquidate that position, which means whatever initial capital that you had deposited, you get that back minus your losses, small amount of losses that you've had. That is unlike the case in options, where you can buy options for the entire premium, entire value of funds that you have, and then lose all of it in a couple of days.
There's a perception that trading is not good for the economy, which I find kind of weird. Do you have any thoughts on sort of this capitalism playing out through trading and what useful purpose traders serve?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're asking me what purpose do I serve?
Yeah. Funny that.
Okay, I'll drop an analogy. You go to a restaurant to eat dinner. A bunch of things are healthy on the menu, but you finish with dessert, which might not necessarily be as healthy. Think of dessert as F&O and think of your main course as equity investing. The first thing anybody has to do is qualify the extent or the scale of the problem. Let's say 80,000 crores is lost in derivative trading in India, 80, 85. I've seen this number online. One has to remember that out of this 85,000 crore loss, maybe 25,000 crore or 30,000 crore of that is STT, which is the fee a trader is paying to the government. Let's say another 10,000 crores or between 5 to 10,000 crores is transaction charges, which goes to the exchange. Let's say the entire ecosystem of brokers in total make revenue of another 10 to 20,000 crores. You have to bear in mind here that STT in itself is more than the revenue of, almost more than the revenue of all the brokers put together. This 80,000 crore loss number, the one number in between this we seem to forget is the impact cost. Each time you try to buy an option or a future contract, say I'm buying Nifty at 25,000, I lose 1 point or 2 points in market impact, because when I place an order at 25,000, it gets filled at 25,002. While the intent of the regulator seems right, if the long-sighted, far-off goal for me is to make more traders profitable and not eliminate traders altogether, I would look at what is making them lose money. I would make each of these components, which are big loss buckets in this overall pie, try to diminish them as much as possible, and then in turn, by the increase in volume, I would hope impact cost also goes down significantly. That, I think, will take the number of profitable traders from the 10, 11, 12, whatever percentage to much higher. But outside of this, I think while you're looking at derivative losses, you also have to bear in mind the income on equity investing. What would be equity investing income last year?
No, I mean, our customers are up 1.5 lakh crores.
Overall exchange, everything.
No data.
Let's say a few lakh crores is earned on equity investing. This is money going towards raising capital of many of the different companies that are IPOing on the primary side. So, like I said, you go to a restaurant, your main course might be equity investing, you're eating a little dessert at the end of the meal. Don't push things to a point where people no longer go to the restaurant, because somebody who wants to speculate is not going to stop speculating because you asked him not to. India, I think, has a big problem of dabba markets, trading offline. It's very easy for a retail trader, for a 30-year-old guy today or a girl, to pick up the phone and call the local, I don't want to put a term to it, but some kind of a broker who will not place the order on the exchange, will settle in cash, will not have to worry about taxes of all kinds. And this industry has evolved and grown to such an extent that they have copycat apps of people like us. So somebody trading on Dabba might have the exact same replica of Kite with better price discovery, because the impact cost is generally defined to 1 point or something like that, and no STT, no transaction charge, no SEBI charge, and no stamp duty, and to top it all, no income tax if they were to make money, which is 40% on a normal trader. So a trader who is providing the service of liquidity to a market that really requires it, in all of this we forget then when markets are falling drastically, the short sellers come and cover their shorts, or the put option writers exit the put options, and it creates an artificial floor and makes the market a lot more robust when there are times of heightened volatility. They play a very important role in the market. For all of these reasons, we might be taking an approach which is a bit short-sighted and not looking at the long-term repercussions of this. I don't want to compare the broking, the trading, the investing industry to gambling, but if I were to extrapolate that far, we sit in India today where Thailand is opening 3 casinos, Dubai is opening casinos, Sri Lanka has some, Nepal has some, Singapore has casinos. I don't think we live in the fragmented world of 20 years ago where we can tell somebody you should do this, you should not do that, you should go here, you should not go there. If you tell him don't do ABC here, he will go find an alternate means of doing what he wants to do. And I don't think we should move people to dabba trading and offline points from, this has been a core ambition of India for decades, to get more people into the financial ecosystem. We don't want people putting money in gold and real estate, and this helps the economy in 100 different ways. So I feel like for the short-term upside of appeasing, I would not like to say sentiment created by some people on their own, but I think somebody who is weighing in on this has to look at the far-reaching long-term impact of actions taken today, because in my view, the smartest people in the world are the ones who are able to delay gratification. And I think we need people who can think really far to come in and weigh in on what is happening today.
So I'm hearing traders serve a useful purpose in terms of liquidity and sort of dampening volatility. But 2, I'm just also curious how the regulator thinks they can increase the number of profitable traders. That's like saying, let's increase the number of alpha producing mutual funds. I mean, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I don't think it should be the regulator's role to do that to begin
Exactly.
with. I don't think that's right. Like, imagine I am a regulator and I'm regulating the telecom industry. I can't call Reliance up tomorrow and say, you're charging too much, reduce your prices by 30%. I don't think that's inherently right or the right approach. I can look at the industry and be like, is this monopolistic or duopolistic in nature? How do I give out more licenses, increase competition, maybe allow Starlink to come into India, so some new kind of technology is evolving. But like I said, young people across the board do not like being told what to do, how to do it, where to do it. And they're not going to stop what comes organically to them. They're going to find other means to do it if somebody were to come and try to curtail that. So while I think the regulator is right in thinking what they're doing, and I respect them for a lot of the decisions they have taken up until now, I think there's always a line. And that line is thin. And I think the closer they get to it without crossing it is probably better for the long-term economic outlook of India as a country. Every large developed country needs a large
No, I
stock
mean,
market.
the thing is, agree with everything you say, but this daily expiry of options, like zero-day trading, that was not helping anyone, anything, you know. So,
Yeah, I'm not speaking against that. I think they should remove daily expiry. I'm saying a lot of what they're doing is right. But you're trying to do X good, don't do X into 5 wrong in order to attempt to achieve X good. And don't demonize traders. I feel like traders are such an inherently important part of the financial ecosystem. By making them look bad and curtailing them and making the ecosystem look bad, you're hurting sentiment in a manner that is not benefiting anybody.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, in other markets, you mentioned the Reliance example. In other markets, they do dictate MRPs and how much power should be sold at and all that stuff. But in this market, there was freedom and now they're coming back in. Aren't we regressing a little bit in terms of capital market freedom?
I feel like this 2-3% number of exposure to financial ecosystem number in India, that eventually has to climb much higher. I'm not saying it will multiply in the next decade or two, but a developed economy like America, let's say it has 40 or 50% exposure, I can extrapolate that and I can extrapolate it to the extent that if I'm an entrepreneur in America and I want to raise capital, I go to the public market and 40-50% of my population can come give me money to build a company in return for equity in my company. India should be so robust one day, and Indian entrepreneurs should have that opportunity one day.
Part of that exposure comes via their pension market, which is where we were starting to discuss. There's a perception that Zerodha is all direct, whether it's direct stocks, direct mutual funds via coin. What do you think of the intermediary market? Do you not think we need people to handhold retail investors?
no, I mean, we need to, for sure. And there's been on our list of things to do. We have invested in Asset Plus, who is kind of helping distributors use technology, etc. On the RIA space, it's good that the new consultation paper is out, which simplifies being a RIA. I mean, if regulations were clear, we would want to build a platform through which RIAs manage their portfolios. And, you know, like in the US, you have the structure where RIA, broker, and the client sign a tri-party agreement. So we would want to do, you know, stuff like that if the regulations were allowing it. So no, absolutely. I think India has got less than 1,000 RIAs for a population of 10 crores, you know, which invest in the market. So it probably has to be millions, you know. So
And obviously, we need more mutual fund distributors as well.
yes.
As a thing. Speaking of education, Karthik, maybe you can talk a little bit sort of more about what we're doing at Varsity. So one, how has Varsity evolved? And then perhaps what you've done in the last year.
Yeah, so like I was mentioning earlier, Varsity has evolved from an article-based, module-based learning system to a much bigger ecosystem. We've got Varsity app, which is going through a mega facelift. I think the new version will be out very soon. We are starting. Well, we've done a number of things online. We haven't really done much on the offline side of things. So, starting this year, we are taking initiatives to meet people physically. The very first initiative that we've taken is the inter-college quiz competitions that we are running. As we speak, there was one event today. So we are experimenting this in Bangalore. If it goes well, then we'll roll it out across multiple cities. Varsity Live is another initiative that we've taken up. We started Varsity Live earlier this year, but we've we've touched close to about 30,000 registrations.
What is the objective there? What are you trying to do with Varsity Live?
Varsity Live is basically online learning experience, mentor-led experience. There is, and unlike an online workshop, let's say like a Zoom or a Google Meet, this is interactive and there is something called as Practice Tech, which LearnApp team has developed. So Practice Tech allows you to experience things as the mentor explains concepts, right? And then there are live leaderboards. So there is a sense of competitive spirit while learning. So Varsity Live is another exciting initiative.
But what is the objective? This is sort of making them financially literate? Is it for trading? Is
All
it for
objective is to
investing?
make people financially literate and
For their own money. Do you expect these people to join the finance industry as either traders?
it could be just
or
about managing their own finances, right? Not really. We are not really coaching them to.
But do we need that much? I mean, I'm just thinking to manage your own personal money, and I'll get to that question later. How much education do you need really to manage your own money?
See, with how much driving skill do you need to navigate through the city? Right?
In Bangalore, insane skills you need.
So yeah, just to complete the offline bit. Sorry, I jumped to the live one. So we are also planning to do community meetups. That's something we've never experimented so far, but we will roll out Varsity community meetups where we will pick a topic, go to a certain city, invite an expert from the local city, organize meetups and talk about that topic, and then take Q&A from the audience as well. So that's another experiment that we are trying to do. Hopefully we'll have some good results there.
This is all personal finance, investing, and trading.
Exactly, all topics related to capital markets.
I also saw a video you doing financial literacy for women in rural India. What was that about?
So women, that was part of our social outreach program. That's Varsity social outreach program, where we reach out to rural communities and marginalized societies, talk to them about personal finance, how they can manage finances better. One of the biggest problems there is the hand loans that they take. We need to talk about the formal banking systems and better way of financing their. It could be small businesses or shops that they have. So that is an effort towards educating that segment of society.
But you're taking on financial inclusion on a sort of it's a very big topic. Okay, how would you make that scalable?
And talking about financial literacy for rural India, what I've learned is you can't copy paste urban workshop kind of model in rural community. A lot of teaching has to happen keeping the cultural and economic context in perspective. Without that, any effort is meaningless. So we partnered with a non-profit organization called Swataha. So the idea is to reach out to as many communities as possible and do these literacy workshops. So as a part of Varsity's social outreach program.
So is that only in local Kannada, or are you looking
it's
at multiple?
Pan India. So in fact, the very first initiative was in Nagpur that we did last year. And it was in Marathi. So we partnered with people who could speak that language and impart this. We also did one in Belgaum.
Apart from rural India, what about women generally? It's well acknowledged that women make a very small percentage of investors, probably nothing in traders. How many traders? How many women traders are there?
It's actually abysmal. Women in technology, women in finance, women. It's something that we are passionate about.
I have an opinion there. It's not. Most people believe that women are not interested in money, but that's not the case. I think it's a conditioning problem. Conversations of about money is not mainstream on dinner tables, right? It's still a very man thing to do. While the men in the household control investments and larger spend budgets, women are given smaller budgets to manage, right? So I think it's a societal problem. I think women will start participating more, take mainstream decisions if this aspect of society changes.
So are we expecting a women-only program from you as well?
Hopefully.
And what about school kids? Given, I guess you can have a seat at the table, but are you reaching out to whoever's in charge of school curriculums to ensure that we do this in school?
We've reached out to few schools. We've partnered with few schools, shared our content with them. But I think financial literacy should be a part of the mainstream curriculum. And what happens today is they call it the yoga curriculum. So while everyone acknowledges yoga is important and it needs to be done and everyone needs to practice, it's not a mainstream curriculum, right? It's by the side. So few years ago, no school was ready to talk about financial literacy and introduce financial literacy to children, but that has changed now. Schools are willing to talk about it, but it's not yet mainstream, right? So, but at least it's a step towards talking.
But what I'm
about
asking is, can you go to policy and sort of say, make it happen? I'm just saying, if Zerodha doesn't get a chance to do that, who else will?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to a few ministers about this, and it's unlikely going to happen anytime soon, So, and a small plug here is we also open Varsity, Zerodha junior accounts, as in small, minor accounts, as in, because it's a good idea, for parents to introduce, younger kids to the concept of finance, as in quite early, as in the way it works is you, the parent, can set up an account and buy a stock and then transfer it to the nominee account, as in. So yeah, so it's good, as in if the account holder can track a few stocks, etc. It's a good way to start in the markets early.
Anything else you want to say on Varsity?
I think I'd like to add one thing. So Varsity first went live in 2014, I think, or early.
November 4th, 2014.
November 4th, 2014. Obsessed. The portal, it started out as a blog/article portal. It has never been closed. You don't have to sign up. It's been open. I think more people have read Varsity and opened accounts at various other brokers than maybe Zerodha itself. So it's always been like that. And every single initiative that Karthik and the team, building, none of these things are behind paywalls. Yeah. So Karthik was speaking of the big update to the Varsity learning app. So one big update, apart from all the new cool features, is that you don't even have to sign up. You can go through the entire thing, take quizzes, etc., without signing up. And in none of these places is there a hard pitch to open a Zerodha account or,
So the other day, someone was asking me user metrics on Varsity, and I was clueless because I've never really actively tracked.
Yeah, I mean, we have millions of people registered in Varsity with their email address, and we have not one sent an email saying open account at Zerodha. So.
You mentioned a couple of times publicly that Varsity is probably the biggest financial education initiative in the world. Biggest in terms of what? The number of people visiting the site?
I mean, in terms of activity, in terms of everything, as in.
And the breadth also. Varsity is almost encyclopedia. It's an encyclopedia plus reference plus textbook plus like a lab book all rolled into one. It's pretty unique in its structure.
Yeah. And I think it's evolved into a complete ecosystem now.
Yeah.
And even to this day, Karthik will spare an hour out on a holiday to respond to Varsity comments.
That's a daily affair.
That's a daily affair. Yeah.
I actually, people when they ask me, I sort of say it's the Khan Academy of finance. Would that be a fair?
Yeah, it would be a fair
judgment?
comparison, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Rangappa Academy.
Okay, we've kind of finished the business end, so we'll talk a little bit more now blending into sort of personal lives as well. Venu, maybe coming to you, what are some of the insights that you have gleaned from your operations compliance career that you think can be applied to business and life generally?
Okay, that is deep. I think one thing that is stuck with me is if you intend to do right, do it right the right way. Right? Don't always look out for expectations or don't expect something in return. If you intend to do right, everything else will follow. Right? So, and this perception has changed because of learnings that I've had from within. To give you an anecdote, so there was one of these days when we were discussing, we were tracking whether people are closing accounts during the time when we faced a technical glitch, right? We were trying to see if there has been an increase in the number of closure requests that have come about, and during that course, K got involved and he got to ask what is the process to close an account at Zerodha. And we said the process is cumbersome. You have to send a letter, ensure that there are no holdings and funds in your account. So it's a long drawn process. It wasn't easy. So Kay said, if you're going to make it easy for an investor to open an account, it should be simple for him to close the account as well. So then I did not agree with him because I don't think it was right to make it easy for a customer to close his account. But I think that philosophy has changed. So as I said, you don't create these dark patterns and make life difficult for someone on purpose, if someone wants to trade with us. And fortunately, what also happened was this got converted into a regulation. So a few months after that, the stock exchanges came out with a circular which said that all brokers have to allow for online closure of trading accounts. So this is something that is stuck to me. Something else, again, I think I've said this in the last year's AMA as well, is money. We've never had a single conversation around how do you increase average revenue per user, right? As in, we always look out for the customer interest and do what is right for them. Money only ends up becoming a byproduct. So these are some things that at a philosophical level have stuck very deep with me.
Is that because it's possible, because you have so many other traders that are funding it, therefore you can do, I guess, the right thing by retail investors who you don't charge? Or do you not care at all that each customer is profitable?
No, I don't think so. When we started business back in 2010, and I distinctly remember Nithin business plan, and the next 5 years, the business plan said that if there are 20,000 trades a month every day and you charge $20 brokerage, you end up making 4 lakhs, and that will translate to 80 lakhs or 1 crore of revenue per month, right? So I don't think we set out with unrealistic expectations. So I at least find myself very fortunate to be in this position that we are in. So I don't think it's a matter of saying that there are other ways to make money. So let's apply this philosophy, which sounds cool and good in nature. I think that is how we're wired as people.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, maybe Nikhil will disagree, but it's not that we are socialists in the way we think. The thing is, if you do right by the customer, you'll do well. As in, that's capitalism. At the root of that is capitalism, right? Now the capitalism, what is really the ugly side of capitalism is where you optimize to figure how do you generate the most revenue.
Also, any critique of capitalism or any system is not automatically socialism. That's a big misunderstanding. There's this right balance to be found in everything, and I personally don't think one system called socialism or capitalism or whatever is the answer. It's most likely, like with all of the human endeavors, is going to be a mix of a bunch of things in the right balance. Just throwing it out there.
Why are you looking at
I was looking at that plant behind you.
We'll get to that, but just while you're on the topic, we talked about rain matter last year when we first spoke, and you said not. Okay, so any criticism of capitalism is not necessarily a vote for socialism. I agree, but you also said, I think both of you said in that interview that capitalism can't fix these problems, especially climate change that we were talking about.
No one singular system can. You have to rethink everything.
Right. So, what about capitalism do you think caused that problem? Is it capitalism or is it some actors who took money out, perhaps, I wouldn't say illegally, but unethically out of the system, and therefore we are in this mess?
I think one has to take a zoomed out meta civilizational view on this. You pick anything, communism, socialism, capitalism, these are all human endeavors. Very large group of people get together and agree that we will try the system out, right? So whatever has happened to or transpired in many of the iterations of all of these systems through history and the current form of free market capitalism that we are witnessing now, and it's a century or couple of centuries old, really. So it's a manifestation of what a large number of humans want. So the fundamental issue here is human nature itself, human greed, the human traits that give rise to extreme situations that have resulted in a planetary collapse or us at being the verge of it. So even when we use the word capitalism as an economic system or socialism as an economic system, I think we are really missing the point. Whatever system it is, whatever system we come up with tomorrow, unless human beings and their fundamental traits change radically, any new system will immediately, in a very short period of time, devolve to something as ugly as all the ugliness we talk about in whatever system. So personally, I find it very hard I can't pick one system saying this will solve human problems. No, these are human problems, not economic system problems. And that's why I am so bleak about the future. Our fundamental traits aren't really going to change in the next few decades or the next few centuries. So that's the only way I can look at these large systemic problems.
You said things that you do are basically good for the customer and therefore are good for a business, but that depends on your time frame. You have to stretch the time frame. I think that's what Jeff Bezos also sort of did in terms of stretching time frame, doing the quickest, fastest delivery, cheapest delivery for Amazon and stuff. Is that, maybe I can turn to you, Nikhil, is that kind of why people should move maybe perhaps from trading to investing for the long term? Is that something that you're doing?
Question again, I wasn't paying attention when you were asking it.
Okay,
I was thinking about what Kay said. In the capitalism and socialism debate, I can't remember who, I think Nietzsche said that he's communist with his kids, socialist with his immediate family, and capitalistic with society at large. If you were to really extrapolate what's happening to the climate with how much energy is being utilized, consumed, one can make an argument that a socialist economy will still think in a capitalistic lens on the top. People inside the country have to be equal, but that country still has to compete with other countries. Like if you were to take examples of socialist countries that we've seen in the past, they've been very competitive as countries. So the debate you can't truly extrapolate, because a socialist country, while being, if not more as competitive as a capitalist country, will waste more energy because of inefficiencies in the marketplace. So capitalism or socialism neither have anything to do with climate. In my opinion, a large part of the climate problem has occurred because of procreation and development and growth across the world, where people have more access to energy than they had at any time in the past. I don't know about the solution. I don't want to comment, especially with Kay staring at my face. But I won't be able to sleep for the next 1 week. Not because it's in my head, because somebody will be.
But do you worry about climate? Do you think these people are doing interesting stuff, but you don't get involved?
To be fair, I do think climate is a real problem at the core of it. I don't think the solution to climate is, maybe I don't necessarily agree with them on the solution. I think the ultimate solution to the climate problem will be energy transition. The day energy in its truest form evolves from what we have today, from fossil to maybe some kind of renewable nuclear or whatever, I think that will make a bigger dent to the climate problem than all else. And if I can create something which is an energy transition project under the capitalistic lens, where it is self-sustainable in a manner that it throws out energy which we are able to sell at a certain cost, I think will have a bigger impact on climate than some other things that I might not agree on.
That's a nice judge, jury, and executioner model.
She asked me a question, it's my opinion.
Fair enough, but I'll conclude with this one small remark. Energy transition, absolutely a big deal, but again, personally, I am unable to even bring myself to a point where I, on a personal level, with my limited understanding, can even propose a solution. Because energy is just one tiny aspect. If energy becomes clean and cheap and very easily accessible, what is going to happen? You're going to have you are going to have an exponential increase in production of stuff that you probably don't really need. So I don't, personally, I can't.
I would debate that. The marginal utility of things is a concept that history has taught us many, many times. If you were to be able to produce one kettle and you make hot tea, it has so much utility to you. The marginal utility of 2 kettles, 3 kettles in all traditional economics has been proven not to exist. So you won't produce products for the sake of producing it just because you can, if nobody's utilizing them.
No, but
Which you will.
No,
Which nobody's utilizing.
but the question is, it's not about, it's newer type of products. Right?
Why do people need a new phone every single year, right? Same argument. So,
yeah, but this debate
it's a never-ending debate.
never ending.
Let's park that for.
Okay, so Nikhil, are you investing in the energy transition? In the WTF podcast, you had a whole episode on it.
Yeah. Not energy transition. I don't think
You had on climate. You had one on climate change.
We had one on climate, but yeah, looking actively at opportunities over the last 1 year. I think a lot has changed in that world. The cost of a unit of solar today is cheaper than the cost of a unit of thermal, which is still largely what we use in India. I think there are different kind of debates. You get solar in the day, you get wind at night, how to store the energy, how to get 24-hour energy. Nuclear of late has I think it's going to blow up in the next 1 or 2 years. Have not found that one large operating entity that I've been able to narrow down on. But we've been doing like some electric vehicles, some this, some that. Each of these can have a debate of its own, whether it's good or bad. But
What else have you learned from your podcast in the last year?
oh wow, it's a big question.
Have you changed your mind on anything in the last year based on the
I
podcast?
keep changing my mind on everything every day. So you ask me 3 months from now what I think about something, I'll tell you a different thing. But I've come to terms with the fact that it is okay to do that. And I feel like that's the nuance of life which makes it more fun, that you are willing to change. There are some people who are unwilling to change their preconceived notions until they're really pushed. That's not a very fun way to live. Why did you guys laugh?
Okay, speaking of which, Kay, what have you changed your mind on recently?
Recently,
Okay, in the last year or so, since we did the last AMA.
it's been a blur. I honestly can't
Say
recollect.
last decade. Don't have to stick to 1 year.
But COVID, for instance, by the way, Nikhil thinks that I never change my mind on things, but I mean, that
Have you?
if I hadn't, we wouldn't be sitting here today. There'd be no Zerodha the way we know it, and none of us would be in the relationships that we are. That's not just me, that's all of us. everybody sitting here, right here, we've all changed our minds and philosophies in various ways to be more aligned, to be more logic-centric, like Venu was saying. So he cited an instance where he changed his mind. So there are like a zillion things where there have been micro adjustments. But one big thing is, I mean, when COVID happened, not just me, like billions of people changed their minds. That completely shattered a lot of worldviews that I had. I always knew rationally that life is fickle. I was not under no delusion, but when I really saw it, that was very crushing, not just for me, for everyone. So the one distinct dent in all my worldviews that I can go back to is 3.5 years ago when COVID happened.
I'll pay a compliment to Kay before we move on.
Let's please move on.
It's the nature of our relationship is like that. You know, we say some bad things, we end with a good thing. So that's.
So you go home happy. What's the compliment?
Oh yeah, one big lesson has been that some people will never ever philosophically align, and yet they can be good friends.
I'll tell you this, like you asked him questions about tech glitch and software and all of that. I think in the Indian ecosystem, again, I don't know, today is the day of metaphors and analogies. I'll draw another one. Let me take the name of an Indian master painter, let's say Raza, or let's say Taib Mehta or someone. When they make a painting, there's a lot of thought and evolution that went into the painting before the paint was put on a piece of paper. While everybody might have replicated to one degree or another a lot of the tech that is available in our ecosystem today, I think Kay was one of the first ones in India to have conceived it and built it in the manner that we have.
How guilty are you feeling right now to have said that? Because I'm not feeling that.
You can copy a MF of Zen, but the copy is not as nuanced as the real thing.
I'm feeling so guilty. I'm not triggered. Let's move on.
Okay, so I've heard there's a health initiative at Zerodha. I guess you probably started it, but I also hear there's a Premier League. Venu, I believe you somehow involved in that. What is the Zerodha Premier League?
Okay, the cricket tournament.
I don't know.
So
And the question specifically was, how is it that your team manages to win every year?
Venu's team does all the league.
So there have been 7 times that we've played this tournament, and we won it 4 times. So it's not like we always win. We let others win sometimes.
We let others win.
So it's just a fun thing. So when we started, we were a small team, and then we grew and became like a bunch of us who said, why don't we all play cricket? Because that's the most followed sport. And growing up as kids and 80s, 90s kids, most of us mostly played cricket. So we said we'll host a tournament. Again, there's a nice story. So we went to Nithin. In our heads, we were thinking we'll have a prize money of 20,000 rupees. And then we went to Nithin and said, no, we want to do this tournament. He said, yeah, why don't you give 2 lakh rupees? We'll give the winners 2 lakh. Because Nithin's thing has been, you have to, the prize is to feel worth it, right? I mean, what's the point of doing a tournament with 20,000 rupees? So we've done that, and as a tradition, we've kept it going every year. So we concluded the 7th season sometime in May, and we won that league after a gap of 3 years.
Again, question I'm reading off the paper, so don't kill me for this. How do you stay so fit and handsome?
I wish you were asking it yourself. So I'll
You'll probably sue me for harassment.
I shouldn't have probably eaten the dessert.
Good answer.
No, but seriously, all of you seem very fit and all of you are very, very handsome. Like I said, I believe all of you are taken, so I'm going to zip it. But how do you manage to motivate people on health? I believe, Kailash, you've changed quite a bit.
Leading by example always, Nithin.
I mean, the thing is, one thing I realize is
you can lead by example, and things can happen. But it is more, it happens. Okay, we have a large team which works from home, right? And you can't influence them. As in, you come to the office and you come on the floor, our section of the floor, or K section of the floor where tech team sits, generally everyone seems healthy and fit. But recently me and Venu someone passed away and we were there, and we're seeing as in people who don't show up, who don't, and yeah, they're unhealthy as hell. So I think it's that the health thing. It passes on from one person to other person. As in, now I see him and I feel motivated, Venu, and Kia is all working out now.
Why are you starting working out?
Can
I used to work out.
Can I answer?
No. So Nikhil and we used to work out. I think there was this 2-year period where we went to the gym after work every single day, 5 days a week.
7 years ago.
Huh?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Then there was a break. Then I started working out again. Then there was another break. Break generally because of work or whatever. This was our that period 2017 to 19 where all of us were working 24/7 to build whatever we were building. But I was always generally healthy. I mean, I've never had bad food habits or bad consumption habits at all. And until COVID, I was still doing a bit of yoga and I was cycling regularly. And I was fit, reasonably fit, even if I wasn't going to the gym. But I think COVID took it, like I said, it took a mental and physical toll on me. And I could no longer ignore the loss of strength and the loss of, virality that I started feeling. So one day I just started working out again. This was 7-8 months ago. So
Why the delayed effect? I mean, that was 4 years ago, no? Why the last 7 months?
I had a shoulder injury, which I really shouldn't have had. That was a wake-up call. I had a sprained back. Those things would never happen. But post-COVID, my body weakened. So I just woke up one day and started working.
And just for the record, all of us have to really slog out and work out to look the way we are. K just has to lift the dumbbell a couple of times, and then he look like Rocky Balboa.
I don't look like that. It's basic exercises that I've been doing.
So, no more than 30 seconds for answers. And I'll just point and maybe ask the same question to multiple people as well. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Venu, if Zerodha hadn't happened, what would you be doing?
I have no idea what I would be doing, but I know for a fact that I would be working with people I love to work with.
Okay then. Karthik.
He stole my answer.
Come on, it can't be that boring. Surely.
It's something to do with capital markets, for sure.
Yeah? Okay. You?
Trading.
No. If you weren't doing Zerodha, but you would still be a trader. Okay? Nithin, I guess that would be a good question for you.
Yeah, I'd be a trader. Because the whole shift from trading to Zerodha happened because of Zerodha. If Zerodha didn't happen, then I would continue to be a trader.
Okay, say the finance industry wasn't an option. Then what do you be doing?
Be something around sports, sports and health.
You?
Something in psychology. I would love to be Kailash's psychologist.
Okay then.
No, psychotherapist who can give him medication.
You might as well answer as well.
I'd be a tinkerer, programmer, hacker, which I am today, which I've always been from very young.
Say that wasn't an option.
I can't imagine, I became one when I was 13 years old, so I can't even imagine another. I can't even imagine.
Can I answer?
No, please.
Can you answer for him, you mean? What do you think he would be doing
I
if
don't
he
want to
wasn't?
know, please. Please, Nikhil, no.
Okay then. We want to hear the answer. What do you think?
You'll have to edit it out anyway.
Let's move on, please.
Okay then. Okay, what's your favorite food or food place? Given that you're a Bangalore boy, I'm new to Bangalore. What place should I have seen by now?
There's a new place on Swiggy called Kebachi, which I'm really liking.
So the one
But
in
it's
Yuba
not a
City.
Bangalore.
It's not a Bangalore joint, but it's quite good. Old school, I would say Nagarjuna.
Yeah, biryani from Archana is killer.
Okay, that's like literally
Yeah.
2 doors down. Okay, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Ramen.
Ramen. Okay.
Way too many things.
Anybody has sweets?
Yeah, I love
Not
dosa
sweets.
from Venu's restaurant, Dwarka.
Stole my answer.
You have a restaurant?
Stole my answer, yeah. So it's called Hotel Dwarka. I plugged in the restaurant last year as well.
Acha.
I think it did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you monitor conversions?
Yeah, but it's really, really good. I was there this Sunday as well. So
Okay. Question for for you. Why aren't you on social media?
I think for whatever reason, that was one right brainwave that I had when social media happened in the mid 2000s. I signed up and I saw how horrible it was, and I decided never to use it. So
but long back you had a Facebook account.
I still have that Facebook account from 2004-05, and 2007 is when I stopped even looking. So I was never active, but I'm very happy with that decision.
So how do you do self-expression?
If I feel like sharing something, I write a blog post. Generally, it's once a year, but I don't feel the need for self-expression.
Long messages and chats.
Oh, private, yes. In a private group, I express myself constantly, but
More expressive than all of us put together.
privately.
No, but are there things like, okay, maybe another way of putting it, how do you relax? Maybe when you can
How
go
do you
first.
relax? I'm not on social media either.
So how do you relax?
Not as myself. And I think I'm more of a doer than a sayer. So if I have to really make a difference, I put that into practice around people who are around
How
me.
does that
versus-
answer the question? What do you do to
What do you do to relax? I mean,
What do I do
is
to
there
relax?
Anything creative?
I browse social media through my fake
Oh, you
account.
do browse.
What did he say?
He browses through social media.
So it gives me
Okay.
the freedom to say whatever I want.
You do photography, right?
Yeah.
Do you put that up? Do you put that up to the
I have a
world?
blog as well, so put up all my photos with whatever I feel on my blog.
It's amazing, by the way. He does wildlife photography, macro photography, astrophotography. It's amazing. You should check
And he
out
writes
his website.
blogs as well. Like he writes the
Personal
story
blogs,
of.
not
Yeah,
Varsity.
travel logs.
What do you do?
So what I
Putting
want
out.
to creative work. I think I want to learn how to make bonsai. I'm really fascinated with the miniature forms of trees. So that's something that I've been wanting to learn.
What do you do?
Music, as in something that's close, and I play sports. I play basketball and us.
Yeah, we had that music session. What do you do?
For relaxing?
Dissect other people's minds.
Yeah. I pick on people on camera.
Do you collect sneakers or anything like that?
I don't collect any.
I have a fascination for watches. I like because it's mechanical. I like the engineering behind it. So watches is what I'm.
You
Let,
mentioned
let me answer on Nikhil's behalf. He's going to say, I collect memories.
You're actually thinking.
I actually thought you would say collect art, but yeah, but let's hear it. What do you think?
He collects memories. That's what he'd say.
Off late, relaxation is health related. That's the thing today. Like working out or playing and stuff like that. Or reading.
I was reading health related.
No, either that or that.
You were reading books on philosophy. How's that going?
Good.
So if I ask you to riff on existentialism right now, would you do it?
I don't know if I can riff on it. I can tell you where I met.
Yeah, okay. What's the one underrated thing about India, whether it's holiday, custom, food? I heard you say in the Ranveer podcast about Indian brand, but what is the one thing that you wish people should know about India or Indians? And what's the one thing that you think India or Indians should do better?
The one thing that I feel is very different about India is it's very dynamic and really eclectic. You don't know what you'll find where. I'll give you an example. I was in Europe for the most of this month. You know, wherever you're going, you know what to expect, exactly what kind of people you'll meet, what you will do. India is a surprise. You never know what's coming your way, right? I think that's more a good thing than a bad thing in my books. You said one thing I'd like to change?
Yeah. What do you think India or Indians should do better?
We should stop making up our belief systems based on what society, our parents or peer pressure mandates us to do. I think everybody should make up their mind on their own about everything, all the big questions of life.
As they grow up, they should then go and do that.
I think it's a two-way street. Parents should stop shoving their belief systems on their kids as well. But
do you think that would change the nature of India? Because one of the things that maybe people perceive about India is that we still have a family unit, for example, and we have customs, we have culture, we have all of these things, and they are because partly we kind of take it for granted from our parents.
Culture should be discovered and not enforced, in my opinion.
Anybody else have a
No, agree.
different
Absolutely.
view?
I think that is very succinct. That's the highlight of today.
No, really.
That is beautifully said. Yeah, it's universal.
What's the best gift someone has given to you, Nithin?
Me.
I would say Kian. I would say Kian. You know, so, I mean, apart from material gifts, I don't know. I mean, nothing as such.
What is the worst gift anyone has ever given to you?
The car which is down.
I have a wound here just trying to get into his car. So totally fine.
Do you want to take that question as well? What is the best gift someone has given you?
Material gift, I don't know. I mean, I got a coffee machine from.
A what machine?
I got a coffee machine from Seema. That's really nice.
Non-material gift?
Sorry?
Non-material one? Don't say kids.
Yeah, that's a very boring answer. I think that should be disqualified.
Exactly. That's why I said coffee machine.
I'd like to answer your previous question. What in India is underrated? I think India as a whole is thoroughly underrated. You pick movies, you pick art, you pick culture, you pick cuisine. If you go outside of India, wherever you are, only an exceptionally narrow sliver is captured. Indian movies are just one type of movies. Indian music is one type of music. Indian food is the same 5 dishes. But that's not India. I mean, every single thing that you pick, there is infinite diversity and depth, and none of that is captured. So India probably, as a whole, is the most underrated country when it comes to absolutely everything. This is something that I've always felt.
Okay, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for humoring me and making the time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.